Welcome to this explainer. I am so glad you're here taking a moment for yourself today. Let's just take a slow, deep breath together. Okay, so today we're tackling something deeply personal and honestly universally exhausting. We live in a culture that basically treats life like a never-ending optimization project, right? From the second we make up, we're bombarded with this subtle, or not so subtle, message that we have to perform, achieve, and constantly upgrade every single version of ourselves. And this relentless drive doesn't just push us into the future, it literally infects how we look backward at our own past. So today, we're exploring the art of looking back and learning how to step off that exhausting performance stage entirely.
So think about it. When you look back at your life, at the choices you made yesterday, last month, or maybe even a decade ago, what is the exact tone of your inner voice? For so many of us, especially if you're a bit of a high achiever, looking back feels exactly like auditing a failing business. We dissect our past actions with this aggressive, hypercritical eye. We're always wondering, why wasn't I smarter? Or why wasn't I more emotionally regulated at the time? We basically hold our past selves hostage to the knowledge we only acquired after making the mistake. And man, this internal harshness creates such a deep, quiet exhaustion. You might be functioning beautifully on the outside, but inside, you're carrying this heavy burden of past regrets, treating your personal history like a giant list of things that desperately need fixing.
To really see how this operates in daily life, let's look at a case study. Meet Sarah. By all external measures, Sarah is highly competent, reliable, and deeply respected. But a few months ago, during a period of intense organizational change and extreme personal stress, she just felt completely overwhelmed during a really important team meeting. The pressure was just way too much. She actually snapped at a colleague, totally lost her focus, and abruptly left the room to go sit alone in her car. Now, externally, the whole event was resolved. Her colleague accepted her apology the very next day. All good, right? But internally, Sarah's mind turned into a punishing courtroom. Notice the exact language Sarah uses against herself here. Every single evening, her mind drags her right back to that car park. She thinks, why couldn't I just keep it together? I'm an adult. I should be past this by now. See, Sarah is using this really aggressive self-improvement language. She's trying to force herself to be this perfectly optimized human being who literally never ever hits an emotional breaking point. And because she views a completely normal human reaction as a deep character flaw, she pushes the memory away in frustration. She totally refuses to look back with genuine softness. So what happens? She stays trapped in the performance of being fine while her underlying stress stays completely unresolved. To understand why we do this to ourselves, it is so incredibly illuminating to look at the words we use. Words quietly build the framework of our inner architecture. Take the word judgment. It actually comes from the Latin judicare, which means to declare a verdict. When you judge your past, you're basically acting as this authoritarian magistrate. You apply rigid present-day rules and hand down a sentence of shame, leaving zero room for human frailty. But consider the alternative, a review. Coming from the Latin revidēre, it literally means to look at again. Notice the profound shift in atmosphere here. Judgment assumes the case is closed and punishment is required. A review? That's an open-ended curiosity. It is the quiet act of returning to a landscape with fresh eyes, just wondering what was missed the first time around. And this beautifully illustrates what is actually happening inside our heads when we judge ourselves. Let's use a really simple corporate office analogy for your brain. When you experience a highly stressful event, like Sarah and her meeting, your amygdala acts like the office security guard. In literally a millisecond, it detects a threat and pulls the fire alarm. It triggers this frantic flight response. Meanwhile, the hippocampus acts like the filing clerk, scrambling to file the memory away. But under intense stress, the files just get dropped everywhere, leaving the memory super disorganized and emotionally raw. Then, a whole day later, the prefrontal cortex, the calm, logical CEO of your brain, finally comes online. The CEO looks at those messy files and harshly judges the chaotic response using cold, present-day logic. The CEO asks, why on earth did we do that? And defaults to self-criticism just to ensure you never, ever make that mistake again. But understanding this neurological loop reveals this beautiful, deeply liberating truth. Your self-judgment is not proof that you are broken. Let me say that again. You are not fundamentally flawed. It is simply your brain's clumsy, protective way of trying to keep you safe from future pain. Your inner CEO is really just overreacting to a messy filing cabinet. When you finally realize this, you can stop fighting your own biology and begin to bring mindful presence and real, true compassion to your inner landscape. And hey, speaking of helping your brain feel safe, you know what really suits the amygdala of our channel? Hitting the like and subscribe button. I'm kind of half joking here, but truly, it tells the algorithm we are safe, and it helps us keep making these deep dives for you. Plus, just a quick reminder, a brand new explainer arrives right here every single Thursday, so definitely make sure you're subscribed so we can keep learning and growing together.
All right, let's get back to our beautiful minds. When you actively practice looking back without judgment, the shifts in your life are absolutely profound. First, you gain true emotional clarity. Your emotions become data, not directives, allowing you to consciously process old, stuck feelings. Second, you experience deep physical relief. Seriously, living under the constant glare of an internal critic creates real physical tension in your body. When you grant yourself permission to just be human, your nervous system drops out of that chronic threat state. And third, authentic growth. Transformation stops being this forced, aggressive climb. It becomes a natural unfolding of the authentic essence that has literally always been inside you.
So how do we actually do this? Let's move into Section 1, 3 Steps to Self-Attunement, moving from friction to natural flow.
Exercise 1 is the practice of self-attunement. This is the absolute foundation of inner clarity. I want you to bring to mind a recent past moment where you felt like you let yourself down. But instead of following the thoughts or getting tangled up in the stories of shame, shift your attention entirely to your body. Is there a tightness in your throat? Maybe a heavy weight in your chest? By focusing on the somatic, physical sensation without even trying to fix it, you actually interrupt the cognitive loop of self-judgment. You're basically telling your nervous system, hey, I'm here and I can hold space for this feeling.
And that naturally builds right into Exercise 2, Gentle Inquiry. Now, this is not a harsh interrogation. Think of it as compassionate research. Grab a journal and ask yourself these 4 questions about a past action. What was I feeling or needing in that exact moment? Am I judging my past self using information I only learned after the event? What am I assuming about my worth because of this mistake? And finally, what is waiting to be understood here rather than punished? These questions are amazing because they loosen your identification with inherited stories of inadequacy and gracefully help you step right out of the judge's chair. Which leads us beautifully to Exercise 3, Creating a Space for Unfolding. This is all about writing an honest, soft note to update your brain's stuck memory file with present-day safety. You might write something like, to the version of me from last year, you were operating under immense pressure, and you did the absolute best you could with the emotional resources you had available. I see your exhaustion. You don't need fixing. I am staying right here with you. It's such a beautiful practice, and it really helps dissolve old tension naturally over time. Now, while you can absolutely do all these exercises on your own, the habit of self-criticism is deeply, deeply grooved into our minds. Sometimes we don't even notice our automatic stories. This is briefly where the quiet presence of an unfolding essence coach can be incredibly meaningful. A coach isn't some harsh motivator pushing you along on a strict timeline. Rather, they hold a grounded, non-judgmental environment. They act as a steady mirror, offering gentle inquiry to help you unpack those inherited expectations without rushing your emotional processing. It's simply about having a guide to provide relational safety while you do the inner work. As we draw all of this together, I want you to remember this one absolutely crucial thing. The messy steps of your past are the unique path of your natural becoming. Looking back without judgment is an ongoing, cyclical practice of returning to yourself with gentleness. You were never, ever meant to spend your entire life performing your worth or modifying your essence to fit some idealized model. The messy, nonlinear steps of your past are not proof of failure. Let the need to fix yourself fall away and trust the quiet intelligence of your own timing. I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. What if the moments pulling at your conscience aren't signs of a broken nature, but are simply areas waiting to be softly, gently understood? The next time your mind wanders backward into old regrets, just pause. Take a slow, deep breath. Step out of the courtroom and simply look at it again. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today, and I will see you right back here next Thursday. Take gentle care of yourself until then.